Hey, everybody out there. Welcome back to another special holiday edition of the Audiophiles. The theme of today's episode is going to be our top 3 favorites offered up by John. So I am going to, yeah, that's that guy over there. I'm going to offer up 3 of my favorite songs that John has offered me over the last near year, and he is going to then offer up his favorite reactions of mine to 3 of the songs that he offered up this year, and we will bounce back round robin like we did in the previous episode. And I guess it's good to get out of the way, much like we did with our listener requests, that there are going to be plenty of songs on the outside looking in. Not quite top 3 material. Perhaps could be any other day, any other time. But for the sake of this video, we had to narrow it down to 3, and some just couldn't make the cut. And John, let's discuss some of those, because I've tried to keep it to 3 on the outside, 3 on the inside, but this idea of doing that what I thought was incredible disservice to a lot of what was offered up throughout the year. And I hope that you had that experience with me as well. If not, that's perfectly fine. But I can tell you that More Chiba did not make the final 3, but what an amazing experience that was listening to them. I really, really enjoyed what I heard.
Yeah.
I know that this is going to sound crazy, but Television's Marquee Moon on the outside looking in, but god damn, what a great song. What a great experience listening to that. It was like post-punk meets jam band or something like that. It was these really 2 disparate kind of genres that had come together to create that song, and it was really a fun experience for me. I can't believe I'm
Andy, sorry, just on that one, I got the 180 gram reissue of that on vinyl a couple of years back, and on the sort of hype sticker, when it got it through the post, it said punk jazz record. Punk jazz.
Well, that's funny because those neither of those 2 genres would have been my first go-tos. Like maybe down the list a little bit of what I said influenced it, but they wouldn't have been the first 2 that I had said. But god damn, it was a lot of fun listening to that song. And frankly, the next 2 I can't believe aren't on my top 3, but 3 is 3. It's a pretty cement number. There's no malleability there. So I'm ashamed to say this, but Paul Weller, Foot of the Mountain, is on the outside looking in, and that was such a treat to listen to. I remember my initial experience, and I remember every subsequent listen that I've had to that song. All of them are quite enjoyable. The song was great. I love Paul Weller. I loved this side of him, seeing him in this, non-jam scenario or biome that he was busting out of and doing something that really reminded me a lot of the stuff that kind of got me into music in general. This good back to basics blues rock that was everywhere in my house when I was a little kid because my dad loved that shit. And this was an amazing listen. Finally, this song, I know if we did this next year, it would be so high on my list, but it is so fresh that I feel it does a disservice to the other songs you've offered up earlier that I've allowed to grow on me. But the Stone Roses Love Spreads is such a goddamn tune, man. Oh my goodness. I love that song. In fact, if you all hit me up in 2 months from now, it'll probably be number 1 on this list. But in the interest of fairness and time and everything, I had to make it of my top of the list on the outside looking in. Now, all that out of the way, I'm going to jump into my 3rd pick. It was I believe my 2nd time listening to Tindersticks. But this song, I loved. It was absolutely intriguing. It was cinematic, even though it was an audio medium. I could see visions and narratives in my, eyes spilling out before me, but it was all just music, which has got to be a tune of the sign of a really evocative tune. Jism, which is an evocative name in and of itself. And I was left at the end needing a cigarette. So I understand the name. This was an incredible song. Let's give it and some of my reactions to it a bit of a listen, and then we'll rejoin you. Ah, that was fucking gorgeous. The the strings get me every time, but add in that this dance, this waltz that the violin, or what I assume is the violin, is doing with the organ. Oh, yeah, we're gonna take that back. Because I need to hear that again, and I think y'all do too.
Do I know where you are tonight? Need this paper cup, need this gravel grind, need those pinches to wake me, give up the trust, take this
Like
power
plucking.
I offer.
Ah, oh, I'm starting to understand the name a little bit more because that was orgasmic. So yeah, this was just an incredible song. It had this like very like somewhere between sad and melancholy and intimidatingly just this intimidating presence about the vocal performance, where it's almost scary the way that the singer delivers this song, but it's over this a bit of like jazz type shuffling drums and this violin that is so goddamn beautiful. Like the strings in this song are really what speak to the soul and it really make you like feel all the like the heart of it. But there's also this menacing, this dynamic between that feeling and this menacing feeling or this unease that's provided by the vocalist. And the way these sounds are on a seesaw or a high wire just balancing it was just incredible, man. I fucking loved the song so much, and it really because it didn't hit with me like the initial Tinderstick song. It made the experience that much more intriguing and interesting to me. And it caught me off guard wholly when I listened to this, and I just thought it was an awesome pick, man. This is a great song.
Yeah, this song encapsulates brutal beauty. It's a disturbing melodrama about a complex relationship that's seen under a sort of sleazy, greasy microscope slide. Diggle Hinchcliffe, the violin player and arranger, is a goddamn genius. And just coincidentally, I picked up an album of his. It's not new, but I only listened to it this year, and it's one of my favorites that I have acquired this year, which is a soundtrack to a TV show, Red Riding. And it is, uh, orchestration accomplishments, accompaniments to the TV program, and it's just brilliant. It's a bit odd, listen, but I like it. Yeah, and the thing with this is, which is why there's two reasons why this isn't on my list of songs I've given you. Is one, because you've already chosen this, and two, because this is the standard of pretty much every song on the first three albums by Tin Sticks. And those three I've listened to solidly for 20 years plus. So I'm much, much, much more familiar with this than other stuff. And so it doesn't bring contempt, but it's just I accept it as being brilliant straight away. It wasn't so much a surprise as it would have been to you for the first time listening to it. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a special song, definitely.
Yeah, it really is, and it's such a mood piece. And I don't know if I love like what top three instruments: the violin or fiddle slash violin slash fiddle, depending on how it's being presented. But either way, it's the same fucking instrument, so it's awesome. And this may be, and even though it's one of my favorite instruments, this may be one of my favorite examples of it being utilized in a song, which says a lot. But I just think that it carried the day for this song, and it's like what it was the counterbalance to like this voice that taps into your fears or your unease. This violin was the exact opposite. It was melancholy and beautiful, and it was a great pick. So thank you so much for offering that one up, John.
Cool. All right. In terms of songs which I have given you, which I have delighted in. Again, I was just go through quickly some honorable mentions. I think because of the surprise of it, New Order Sunrise, because people think of a certain sound when they think of New Order, and I always used to like do mixtapes and give people this track, which changed their opinion, and it's just a great, awesome track. I know you loved it, and yeah, it's fantastic. Flowered Up by Weekender, Flowered Up Weekender, sorry. Another epic track that took you through many, many rooms of the Pleasure Palace. It's just awesome. It's an anthem. It's part of the 90s in this country. And what made it even more special was having the drummer of the band drop comments and the guy who helped form the band and was the manager drop comments. Is just blew my mind. Brilliant. And the story behind it all, which kept changing when we heard different viewpoints from people who were actually there, was even better, you know. And probably just as reliable as each other in some way for whatever reason. And just even cements it even further my fondness for that tune. And Riley Walker, Sweet Satisfaction. This, as I said to you at the time, this was a recent find of something that had been on my hard drive for about 8 years. But the whole album, just I don't know what the hell I was thinking when I listened to it the first time, because discovering it sort of a year or so ago, it's been a mainstay now, and I think it's a really special album. And he is a great artist and performer, and this track's just a brilliant example and gateway into his sound. So yeah, that's some of my honorable mentions. But yeah, my third pick of my top three that I've given you is the already aforementioned Paul Weller for the Mountain live version.
This fucking drummer is earning his night's pay. I'll tell you that much. Taking that back. Again, just for a couple seconds, but good God.
Now, hand on heart, I am not sure which one I prefer. I have a really soft spot for the acoustic version. But in terms of reactions, this one certainly went down a lot better, the live version with you. And what I really liked was a few things which you kind of mentioned already, was your reaction to the virtuoso performance from the stellar group of musicians that were grouped together at this period in his career. Most notably, though not solely, is Steve Vai on drums, who
Mm.
I have been admiring for decades. But I think it was the first time you'd seen him pound the skins, and
Mm.
it was great to see your appreciation of him because he is something else.
Yeah, he was absolutely killing it.
And of course, Paul Weller giving himself, a full-on performance, and showing, as you've already said, a different side of him from that of the Jam, which we've been slowly exploring throughout the year. And there's a lot of sides to the Jam, but this is something else again. And as you said, it's probably a bit of a throwback to the stuff which influenced the Jam.
Mm.
So yeah, great performance live as well. Stevie Craddock as well, doing a fantastic job on the other guitar. And yeah, great song.
That it was. That it was. All right. And that brings us to track number 2 of my favorites offered up by Uncle John. And this one did sneak in. Okay, because this one you've offered up to me pretty recently. But there was no way this wasn't going to make the final cut, because this was by an artist who is an absolute legend, who I've revered for most of my music loving life. I mean, my first 2 instruments before I settled into playing like rock music were saxophone and violin. So I listened to a lot of jazz stuff growing up outside of classic rock, and I've always had a soft spot for Marvin Gaye, and thought I knew a lot of his stuff for a guy who grew up well after Marvin Gaye was like popular or in the limelight and releasing music. And then you put this T Plays It Cool on me, and I went off and listened to that and had a goddamn religious experience. Like, this was like, I barely even probably said anything during this, because it was so captivating. It was so good. I mean, I'm sure I said some. In fact, let's give that a look now. This is so goddamn good. Plain and simple. Just press play. Oh, yeah, the Prince of Soul, he strikes again. This, I'm familiar with a lot of Marvin Gaye. This is not one of the songs that I know, but I'm sure glad I do now. That was wonderful. It was just good. Everything about it. It was faultless. I just fucking loved it. But it was there was these sounds that were being utilized, like almost synthesized or synthetic sounds that were being peppered in with the traditional sounds from Marvin Gaye that you'd come to expect. But it was this interesting striking of a balance that I had never heard him do before. But it was just so goddamn delectable to the ear. And this is easily one of my favorite songs that I've heard in the year 2023. And it will be a song that I listen to several times in 2024 and beyond. And I have to honestly thank you so much for offering up this song, because it's second only to one. I'll say that.
Hence it's number 2 on the list. Well done.
Thank you for putting that together.
Yeah, I would say that this album hit me like a slap from a wet fish around the face, and really opened up Marvin Gaye to me. I mean, I liked him and admired him, but Yeah, this album's something else. And honestly, if I was allowed, I would have just given you the whole album to go off and listen to. Um, so I might still pick another song or two off this and give it to you. But it's just awesome. It really is. And it is my favorite soundtrack album. It is my favorite album by Marvin Gaye, which automatically makes it very, very high as well. Yeah, it's just incredible. And the
Yeah.
talent of this guy, you knew he was an awesome singer. But and I knew he tickled the ivories a bit and stuff. I'd never seen that much of him live, but they're just incredible, incredible. So
Yeah. And it's also, this touches a little bit on like the same thing we were talking about when we get offered up like reggae songs and stuff when we were talking about that on the viewer request episode. But when you stray out of the waters that, like, I don't know, 75% of this channel is devoted to, and you wade into others that you might be somewhat familiar with outside of this channel and just in regular day-to-day life or whatever, but you wade in there and you find that the water there is even, like, in that moment in that song, better than than most of the waters that we're accustomed to treading and discussing. There's something like so wonderful about that feeling, because it's not only the enjoyment of it, but it's the element of surprise or unexpected gratification that comes with it. Now, I knew Marvin Gaye, this is probably going to be awesome, but will it beat or contend with some of the others that I've been familiar with for 30 some years? It blew those out of the water for me because of its newness to me and because of its greatness in general. So that is why it had to make number 2 on my list. Awesome pick, John.
Cool. Well, number 2 on my list, another band that we've already talked about, and that's Tindersticks. People keep coming around.
Coming around, you better watch yourself. Don't talk so loud, I hear them coming for you. People keep coming around, you better watch yourself. No matter where you go, I hear them coming for you now.
So what do we have? Do we have like trumpet and flute in there? Is that what I'm getting? I don't know. There's a lot. I love this arrangement. I love the instrumentation. I love just the cool delivery of what I'm very confident now are 2 singers, hearing the harmonies there. Unless it's one guy that can really throw his voice lovely to a lower octave. This is good.
So, like I said before, I know that Jism is a special track, but sort of knowing their full catalogue, this to me is a more unexpected or wonderful song. The infusion of the decision to infuse soul and R&B into their sound, which was so strongly developed and like nothing else around their first 3 albums, to then go down this track and do it so successfully, and add this new cul-de-sac to their oeuvre, I thought was quite amazing. I think the arrangement of this song is, as always, so masterful. Dick on Hinchcliffe is still a genius. I mentioned it a few minutes ago, but he remains so. And the other touches in this, the Riders on the Storm reference, John Barry references, everything else, make it a complete delight for me. So that's why it's number 2 on my list.
Excellent choice. I'll definitely.
And I will add that for about 10 minutes, this was your favorite song that I've given you for about 10 minutes.
Yes. Well, I have to be honest with you. The other one blew this one so clean out of the water. And also, I will say that listening to Jizza made me appreciate the band and this song even more than I did when I initially gave this a listen, because what you're saying, this ability to cross germinate with different genres that they tie into their songs, like that was one example. And then I listened to Jism, and there's another example with different elements they're pulling into their sound there. So here they've done it successfully with different little sounds of other genres that they're pulling into their own. And it's like, if they are capable of doing this so seamlessly, that is incredibly talented. So this band is definitely one of my favorite bands that you've like introduced me to on this channel, and even going back into the music.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember as well, you've done a Marty McFly here. You've gone back to the future, as it were. So you people keep going around, but it's much more recent. Jism is one of the early stuff. So you heard that and then gone back to that and seen the difference in it. And I don't blame you for being blown away by Jism, but obviously I took the slow way along, year by year. So that's probably why I like that one better. So they're both great.
Yeah, they are. On to track number 1. This probably comes as zero surprise, because I've referenced this song on subsequent videos and how much I enjoyed it. And it's also, the album is hanging directly behind your boy John there. And that is Roscoe by Midlake. This, I don't think, of all the songs I've listened to, some have captured my attention. Of course, the ones that I've liked have mostly captured my attention from the word go. This took about 35 seconds for me to get over the silly visual, to really like let it sink its teeth into me. And when it did, it just wouldn't let go. It was mauling me. So take a look at my reaction and to this song, and see how I kind of it grows on me as I listen.
Mostly surround you, you wish to flee, but it's not like you, so listen to me, listen to me. Oh, and when the morning comes, we will step outside, we will not find.
This is growing on me so much. The first 30 seconds, I was kind of like, what are we getting into here? How's this going to develop? And oh my God, this has blossomed into such a lovely song. Just the bass walking up and down all the time is constantly catching my attention. Loved what they were doing, or what they were teasing with possible, like that sort of ragged like strumming of the guitar. It might come into fruition, or build more from where it is. But even if it doesn't, that was still awesome and intriguing. This is so good.
When they get back, they're all mixed up with no one to stay with.
Yeah, that was just a beautiful song, and I loved it. There was no criticisms that I can think of upon first listen. I can guarantee you that there will be subsequent listens. Oh man, good one, John. So yeah, by the end of this song, it was hook, line, and sinker. I was toast. I was done for. This, of all the tracks you've given me, this is the most Andy track I think you've probably ever given me. That's not to say that the other stuff isn't stuff that I wouldn't naturally gravitate toward or enjoy, but this song, and like the elements of like folk and indie and all these like go-to genres for me, like it had all those sounds in spades. And even the playful rhythmic nature of his delivery vocally, how he kind of plays with certain runs of lyrics to almost act like a rhythmic instrument. To me, a bass guy, a rhythm musician, was like, it just tickled my fancy so much. So this was, I don't want to say far and away, but this to me was a clear cut. From the moment I heard it, till the day of recording this video. It has been played several times. It's an unwavering love I have for this song, and I wouldn't have had that if it wasn't for this channel and you, John. So thank you boatloads for offering it up, man. I love this track.
Yeah, it's all right. No, of course. I knew that this should hit with you fairly well. Like you said, it was one of the more sort of Andy-esque tracks. I think it's a wondrous tune. I think that Tim Smith is a master of creating complete scenarios of time and place and transporting you there effortlessly. I mean, as you say, within a few seconds, you're kind of in that community, and you don't know where you are, and you don't know what era it is, but you kind of feel like you know it as you're listening to it. Yeah, it's a great, great, great tune. And all the things you said, the cadence and everything else, and the lovely guitars. Apologies to all the commentators out there who, to the contrary, but I still maintain this is easily the standout of the album. It's not to say the album's rubbish, but it is. I still feel that.
Yeah.
See me. So yeah.
Awesome. So what is your number one song that you offered up to me this year, sir?
Well, it's a bit of a heart over head choice, really. And that would be Talk Talk, I Believe in You.
Tell me how I feel about prejudice about them. Is it worth so much when you taste it? Enough there ain't enough in a
Oh, there's all this like reverb and feedback and like ambient guitar noises, and they're just fucking great. That bass, so simple, but when it came in, man, you couldn't help but feel the richness and how it filled out the bottom portion of that tune and gave it some weight. I'm really, really enjoying this. The vocals are nice. I don't think they are what I would have anticipated for this song, but it's a really lovely voice. And again, man, this music is just so interesting, right? There's not like a really definitive like earworm melody or anything, and yet it's still begging for my attention. All right, let's press on here.
time to sell yourself a time for passing.
I genuinely think, I mean, there's better songs I've probably given you, but I genuinely think that this is one of the most beautiful songs that I've ever listened to. And I think his final two albums, that Mark Hollis did, were just incredible. Mark Hollis was and will always be a stone cold genius. Even creating a new musical genre, post rock, which is a horrible term, but I think the development of the band Talk, and I obviously was there at the time when they first came out. All you want to do is talk, and this synth pop nonsense. I mean, it was all right, I guess, chart fodder. To these amazing sonic landscapes that clear your mind, cleanse your soul, and break your heart on a daily basis is just amazing. This band, and Mark Hollis in particular, should be held in the same estimation as any other British band that sits at the very top table. But the big hitters I'm talking about, they should be out there as well. And from his work and this song because I was offering it up, you can see the measure of the man, his integrity, his vision, and his humanity. And this song touches me and makes me emotional just thinking about it, actually. But every time I listen to it, I find it incredible, and so that's why it's my number one pick.
Awesome. No, it was a great song. I remember it being like eye-opening for me because it was eye-opening, but like in a way that I had to grapple with it. This took multiple listens for me to really like digest it. The other one forgive me if I butcher this a little bit, Living in Another World or something like that. Was that the other one? Yeah, that I actually I think I liked it a little bit more than this one, with all due respect. And
it's easy to connect to.
Yeah, it is a bit, and there was the fun of the visuals that went with it because it was a live performance. But yeah, this is a band that I wasn't familiar with at all, and to hear the way you talk about them and having heard their music, albeit just a couple tracks to this point, has definitely been clearly enough for me to want to learn more about them and listen to more of their stuff. And that's a hint to you if I'm not being subtle enough in the year 2024. So yeah, this was definitely opened my eyes and my ears and my mind a little bit to Talk and Mark Hollis and the potential, or like the maybe the limitlessness of the potential that I'm gonna have, like, of listening to their music, because like it sounds like the sky's the limit of what these guys can do or have done. And I'm looking forward to continuing to push that envelope, even if it does mean grappling a little bit with it the first initial listen. And that's been 50% of my experience with them thus far. So, but intrigue is the common denominator to all that shit that I just threw out there. So I look forward to listening to them more.
Cool. Well, I think you should wrap things up.
I think that's a fair wrap things up. It's that time of the year, isn't it? Thank you so much, John, for offering us up some great songs over the last year. And we touched on just a fraction of those here. There have been, I've said this before, and I dread saying it again just because the diameter of your skull will probably grow at the same rate the Grinch's heart did. But you've never offered a bad song. Your bass line is good, and your ceiling is, this is fucking blowing my mind. So when you're working with that sort of range of what you're going to get, it's always a pleasure to get together with you. Every weekend and sometimes twice a week, because we get together during the week to do 1-on-1. So yeah, it's always a pleasure to get together and have you throw songs at me and give me a little bit of a schooling, particularly on what came before my time and what came out of a land that's alien to me. So it's really cool to have this experience, this sort of transatlantic music exchange that we have going on here. 12 years and the second largest body of water in the world divide us, but we do have a lot of common tastes, just enough to make this whole exchange really worth it and fun. So all that out of the way, everybody out there in the listening audience, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for giving both of us a shot. Thanks for giving this channel a shot. And we hope to see all y'all, and maybe some more, on the next installment of the Audiophiles. See you later, guys, and happy holidays.